Good evening.
Did you see that dog?
I'm on my Zoom meeting, dear.
Oh.
Yes. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7.
Madam Chair, you have everyone accounted for.
I don't see Vic.
He's done. He was on.
I'm here, Marge. Don't worry about a thing.
Oh, sweetie, how could I not? I mean, I can't have a meeting without you.
Well, I had to get dressed first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had to put on some lipstick. It was hard to find it. I don't have any makeup around here.
See, and I'm the only one that wears a tie. I forget to put a tie on.
Well, I'm impressed.
Thank you. You're about the only one, though.
Don't start this early. Oh my God. All right. Since everybody's here, let's open the meeting and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're good. We're good. Carly had something she wanted to say before we start the meeting.
It'll be really quick. Thank you, Marge. I just wanted to acknowledge that tonight is a Jewish holiday of Purim, and I just wanted to wish happy Purim to everybody that celebrates. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. There's a little bit of housekeeping to do tonight in this meeting. We didn't on Monday approve the minutes of February 8th, 2021. So I need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? The ayes have it. All right. Dr. Bryce here? Oh, there he is. Okay. Now we get to the meat of the meeting, which is the discussion and possible action of the FY22 budget. Dr. Bryce, you're on.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out and being with us today. Again, I would like to just thank everybody that has sent me thoughts and prayers and positive vibes as we've gone through the issue with my mom. So thank you very much. As we get into the budget tonight, I want to remind people of some key points that I made on Monday. Number one, that 81% of our budget is focused on salaries and benefits. And we know that salary and benefit increase every year. We also know that in FY21, due to the pandemic, there was a decision made to utilize fund balance in order to ensure that we were able to operate. That is a decision that I made. I certainly shared that information with school committee members. I would tell folks that I would do that situation again. That decision, however, does not come without some cost. And the cost on the back end is that given the amount of state funding that we may receive, given the shortfall that is a result of not being able to utilize that fund balance, it means that we're going to have a larger budget deficit to solve for next year. And so I think everyone should just realize that. Additionally, we talk about declining enrollment and that our district has lost enrollment 10 out of the last 13 years from a high of about 3,688 students down to next year a projected 3,129. That is something that we certainly are going to need to address. And hopefully we'll be able to address that through our strategic planning process. So with that, I would ask Ryan or Rose, I don't know which one is running the board this evening, to put up the preliminary budget. And the second document that I want you to put up is the FY22 budget reduction summary for public distribution. Have that ready because I'm going to toggle between both of them at some point. Yeah, I need the PowerPoint. Bingo. All right, so again, as we've mentioned, 81% of our budget is tied up in salaries, benefits, debt service. Next slide, please. All right, so when we think about our budget right now, we based our budget off of last year's budget, looking at where we were, and then making sure that we backed out all of those costs associated with COVID-19. We certainly hope, and it is our belief that we will have some sense of a return to normalcy. We still may be wearing masks, but we certainly hope that we will have all of our students back in school, our teachers and other staff back in school. And so that's really going to be important. Even with 4% funding from the Joint Finance Committee, we would right now still have a budget shortfall in the next budget of $1.9 million, because 81% of our budget is faculty and salaries, or excuse me, salaries and benefits. It means that is going to have to be something that we're going to have to reduce in order to get to zero, so that we can pass a balanced budget. Next slide, please. So as I stated on Monday, I'll give it again, best case scenario with the current information that we have. The other thing I would just mention to everyone, as we built this budget, one of the things that we recognize is that we are building a budget. It is our best thinking at that time. As the situation changes, we would certainly make adjustments, and we will continue to work with our school committee, the administration, myself, and our team will continue to work with the school committee, the Joint Finance Committee, if the situation or information changes. 4% increase, which would be the maximum allowable without having to request an override from the General Assembly, would still result in a 1.9 shortfall. A 3% increase would result in a 2.3 shortfall, 2%, 2.7, 1%, 3.1, and level funding from the towns, or what we like to call maintenance of effort, would result in a $3.5 million deficit in operations. And again, we are concerned about state revenue potentially decreasing even more. Next slide, please. Some of the huge things that it is important for everyone to just keep at the forefront of their mind. Projected revenue is due to an enrollment reduction, state aid reduction, the use of fund balance in FY21 that we are making a conscious decision not to utilize moving into FY22, and potential salary and benefit increases, contracts for BWEA and C94, which have to be negotiated, and healthcare, which always seems over the last year and this year seem to run about 10%. Next slide, please. Other considerations that we've made, and I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of them. Those considerations are, as I mentioned already, we removed all COVID-19 costs from the budget, staff positions. And so let me just clarify, the CFO position is actually a name change from what we previously had, which was this Chief Operating Officer. We are focusing on someone that has the financial acumen and skill set, just like the two consultants who have done a phenomenal job for us, Mary King or Diane Brennan. We also know that we need someone to run our human resources operation, and that would be either a human resource director or manager, depending on the skill set of the incoming CFO. And there may also be another position of controller But we, right now, I just wanted to alert everybody to the 2 positions that we are currently thinking about. To the extent possible, costs have been held to pre-COVID spending levels. We talked about breakage on Monday. I won't go over that, but it's just the difference between the salaries of employees that retire versus backfilling those employees with new members that may not have the same level of experience. And we talked about healthcare costs. Next slide, please. So in our budget discussion, we're going to talk about the consolidation of district offices at Mount Hope and KMS. A reduction in services program and staff will be required. District staff have reviewed services to find efficiencies, discussed discontinuing or delaying programming, and identify positions to be reduced. Proposed reductions based on a tiered model of priorities. Next slide. And here are the categories for reductions at the district level, at the school level, extracurricular contractual services, and supplies and materials. Next slide, please. And I think we're going to toggle right now. Right. So one of the things that that I can say is the 3% funding increase results in the $2.3 million budget shortfall for the FY22, which is the budget for next year. And we talk about consolidation, services, programs, and staffing. The total budget request of $55,984,792. And we also know that there is, so that will be the budget request, and we'll handle everything else as we go through the other document. Ryan, can you put up the other document, which is the document for public distribution, please? Thank you. All right, so at the top, you know, and we actually shared this with staff in the community earlier this afternoon. Preliminary budget is a projected decrease of state funding of approximately $1 million. Change as additional information becomes available, which is what I already mentioned. We also talk about does not include the use of fund balance. We used it last year. We had saved it from the previous year. It was right to use it in the emergency. That emergency is coming to an end. Now is the time where we're going to have to right size our budget. But the budget also maintains the 2+2 fund balance requirement established in school committee policy. And nothing about the capital budget is contained in this budget. It's strictly the general or operating budget. So let's go through a 4% increase. If we receive a 4% increase, there are a number of reductions and consolidations we need to make in order to accomplish a $1.9 million, cover a $1.9 million deficit. So we start at the district level, 3.4 positions and contracted services. And you can see those positions: digital learning, network manager, both of those are out of technology, assistant facilities director out of facilities, special ed coordinating. We're reducing that individual is actually going to be a part-time worker. A child outreach screener, that service is covered by staff that we currently have, an SEL consultant, and a dean at KMS that is actually paid through the substitute line. We would be eliminating all of that. Next, we're going to move to, and this is brand new from Monday. We actually talked about it. It is great to have the rich, diverse skill set that we have on our staff. So our new facilities director has been all over the district, has looked at it. And one of the options that he presented was this idea that we have excess space.
Wait.
Can we mute everybody, please? And so as we have excess space.
Jonathan, you're muted now.
Thank you. One of the issues that we had to grapple with was, as we have underutilized space, is there a way that we can utilize that space and save money? And so we actually believe that moving the district office out of Oliver into both Mount Hope High School and KMS will afford us an opportunity to do a couple of things. Number one, it puts our team here at Oliver in a school close to the students every single day, right? So when you're on meetings, and oftentimes, you're in meetings all the time, but you have the opportunity to get up, walk outside, see students, and know that and continue to be constantly reminded about the impact of your decisions on students in a building and staff in a building. So we think that's a positive aspect. But we also know that the idea that we would reduce or eliminate the operating costs for this building would be important. We also will avoid potential capital budget expenses for systemic repairs of major systems like the roof, the heating system, any type of other mitigation efforts, the construction of an elevator, things like that. We would not have to do that. And so we actually really believe that is going to be a powerful consolidation and effort on our parts. We talked about the reduction of elementary level teachers and a reading specialist. It is going to increase class size. And one of the things that we are absolutely concerned about is class size, especially at the early grades. That is something that we need to look at to make sure that we can level across grades and across schools so that we don't have those classrooms at the high end, and to make sure that we are also leveling in terms of the number of students that have unique needs so that we can make sure that we are sharing that across classrooms. At the middle school, we are going to eliminate 4 staff members. And what it is going to allow us to do is to move or reorganize the grade concept. So we will maintain 3 teams at the 6th grade, but the 7th and 8th grade will be reduced to 2.5 teams. Can you scroll up, please? At the high school, thank you. At the high school, 2.25 FTEs. It will reduce electives. I'm going to say it. I said it on Monday. I will say it again. We do not want any of our students, regardless of whether or not they are taking a CTE course, an elective, a core academic, or an AP class, to be denied that opportunity. It is incumbent upon us, however, to make sure that we're not operating classes that have so few students that not an academic, but from an economic perspective, it's just not the right decision. And so we believe that we will be able to operate and provide for some of those classes that would have really small numbers of enrollment. We would actually have the students learn those courses either through Edgenuity or the ACN network while they're at school. It would be a combination of, there would be a monitor in the room, it would be an online course, and having at least one online course would not be a bad thing for our young people. We talk about clerks, custodians. We know that as well as teacher assistants, we know that there's going to need to be a reorganization of duties and schedules. We are certainly prepared to do that. One of the things that I received a number of emails about was athletics. And certainly one of the things that we've been able to do is to reduce the reduction in athletic spending from about 172,000 in this first cut to 89,000. It does not include any teams being eliminated. So for all those people that were concerned about sports teams, whether it be hockey or swimming or any other teams, in this first round, we have no teams eliminated. And so we're very pleased about that. And then lastly, in this section, software subscriptions, supplies and materials, extracurricular activities. Let's talk about supplies and materials. One of the things that we are going to implement is we're going to implement district-wide purchasing. So no longer will individual schools be able to purchase. We are going to centralize the purchasing of all materials. And I'll give you an example. Our contractor that provides, or our supplier that provides paper, once you get above ordering 40 cases, you get a reduction in the cases. it doesn't seem like it's a lot, but if you extrapolate that over an entire year, over the 1,000 cases of paper that we purchased, we're talking real money. And that is a savings that we can plow back in to operations in some other way. So that's the 4%. Let me go to 3%, and I'm going to take another 5 minutes because I think people, much of this people have already heard, but then we'll be able to open it up, give it back to the chair, open it up for questions. Let's slide that up, please. All right, so at 3%, other contractual services would be reduced, supplies and materials. That gets us to the $2.3 million reduction that we need if we were funded at 3% by the JFC. Slide up. Thank you. At a 2% increase, we would need to close $2.7 million. We would add additional contractual services, supplies and materials. That would get us to the 2.7. If we only receive a 1% increase, we would need to reduce to 1 school counselor, 1.6 itinerant positions. So itinerant positions are those positions that are typically shared across schools. So that can include maybe reducing the amount of services that you receive in art and music and something like that. It would not completely eliminate it, but it would reduce it. Additionally, 2.0 FTEs and 2.0 FTEs in teacher assistants, more supplies and materials. That gets us to 3.1. Certainly getting to 3.1 is difficult if we were only to receive a 1% increase. If we were to be level funded, it would be absolutely devastating. And here are those reductions. Please slide up. At 3.1, at 0% increase level funding, we would have a $3.5 million budget shortfall in the FY22, the next year's budget. We would go back to athletics, a reduction in athletic teams or staff, another school counselor, a music teacher, 0.5 world language, further reduction in extracurricular activities, more reductions in technology subscriptions, a reduction in the Mount Hope Extended Day program, and an elimination of specialty labs. And that would get us to $3.5 million. It would have significant impacts on the programming and day-to-day lives of our young people. Other considerations, we're looking at healthcare. I have personally spoken with the trust, and we are working with them to see if their projection can be lowered, and hopefully we get a different number than the number that they have given us early this year. With that, I will turn it over back to our chairperson, Mrs. McBride.
Thank you, Dr. Bryce, for the presentation. At this point in time, I'm going to turn to Carly to make a motion, and I'll need a second for that motion, and then we'll have our discussion. So Carly.
Thank you, March. Since Monday night, I've actually changed my mind, and I'd like to make a motion for a 4% budget increase.
Second.
All right, if that's open for discussion then.
I think,
what?
do I get a couple minutes to explain my position? I think according to Robert's rule.
Everybody on the school committee gets an opportunity to say what they feel.
Okay.
You want to start, Carly?
I would love to. Thank you. As I mentioned earlier during our meeting, tonight is the Jewish holiday of Purim. And again, I wanted to wish happy Purim. Purim celebrates the bravery of Queen Esther, who advocated, defended, and saved her people when things looked especially dire. Those who practice the Jewish faith celebrate Purim by giving gifts of food, often money to family, community, and celebratory dinners often include noisemakers and costumes. It's a pretty fun, raucous occasion. So this evening, in the spirit of Esther, I have made the request of the budgetary increase of 4%. I very much respect the work of our administration, the contractors that we have hired to help us craft the budget and get a better handle on what we have and what we need going forward. I'm grateful for the time and passion of my fellow school committee members as they seek to clarify the impacts of our potential reductions. I know that this ask is a large one, but in understanding what sorts of community sacrifices we'll have to saddle together in the form of losses of educators, increased class sizes, reduced programming, fewer electives, and now we hear less, we don't have to worry about sports, which is tremendous. To name a few, I feel like this ask is appropriate. I make this request so that our students and families don't have to feel the cuts quite so deeply. We do this in order to tend to the needs of all of our students, whether they have IEPs, 504s, are college bound or trade bound, are student athletes or thespians, maybe artists or budding engineers, those at risk of failing or dropping out, or those who are in our AP and honors courses, and for those children and families that may need mental health services and support, and for those that are barely getting by. We must have schools and programming that set our kids on a path to achieve their own individual goals and prepare for their future. And I know in my heart, this is what we must strive for. This is how we get a bit closer to reaching our own audacious, but really truly attainable goal of top 5 and 5. This is how, in the spirit of Purim, we make some noise. This is how we demonstrate to our students, families, community, and educators that we prioritize education, especially in a pandemic, in a time where there's so much more instability and greater risk to health and safety in our singular, precious community. I have heard from so many families that support increasing the budget. One parent quoted Wayne Gretzky and said that you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So here's our shot at the 21-22 budget.
Thank you, Carly. Nikki,
Yes,
did you have any comment you wanted to make?
sure. I think it's Carly sort of mentioned this, but I think it's important to point out, first of all, thank you to everybody who reached out to us over the course of the last few days. I counted up, and I know that we all received the same ones pretty much, but I received 16 emails about this budget. And all but 4 of them urged us to vote with the superintendent's recommendation. The other 4 were more specifically concerns about sports, and they were more concerns about cuts rather than, specific requests. The other thing that did make me think that we should shoot for the stars, as one emailer said, was what Chairperson McBride pointed out at the last meeting. And she sort of refocused me on what the job of a school committee member is, and where it comes to the budget. We're not serving on the JFC, we don't work for the town, we're not here for our own kids or for our grandkids. We are here to advocate for all of the children, and to work as hard as we possibly can to provide them the education that they deserve. And when I discuss education, I mean all of it, the sports, the performing arts, the academics, all of it. And that's our responsibility. And yes, it's really hard because I am a parent and I'm a taxpayer, and I'm a taxpayer in Warren, where, as we know, we already pay nearly 4%. Last year, our tax rate was almost 4%. So it's really hard to sort of separate that. But I think it's really important because that's our responsibility. And so we have to come to this discussion with the lens of fighting for what is best for the kids. Also, our teachers, our staff, and our students have made so many sacrifices that so many of you referred to over the course of the last year. And I think it's really important that our kids especially see us standing up and being willing to have difficult conversations and make uncomfortable decisions that allow them their lives back and their sense of normalcy. It allows them to be kids again while learning and developing into, well-rounded humans that we send out into the world. The other thing that I think, and I know that I am accused maybe by many people as being overly optimistic, and I don't disagree, but I think it's important to know that optimists see the problems and they see the challenges ahead. But they also see the potential for solutions and the potential to come out of this. And I really do believe that we're going to have a really tough time ahead of us. But if we come to a place where we focus on what our goal is, and we roll up our sleeves and we commit to working together, I really do believe that we can right this ship and we can get back to the important work. I think that mistakes probably have been made over the course of the last years. We've had an expertise gap as we haven't had a senior level business person. But now we have two outside financial experts that I say are helping us right this ship and setting us on a course to the future. And so that is why I do believe that we owe our kids, our teachers, and our communities to fight for what we think that we need. Thank you, Marge.
Thanks, Nikki. I'm just randomly going across the lines here. Tara? If you're not ready to speak when I call and you say something like, I need to wait. But if you're ready, go for it.
Yes, I'd like to wait. Thank you.
All right. Karen?
Okay, so well, first of all, I would also like to thank everybody for the emails and reaching out. I do appreciate hearing from all of you. So as most of you know, I'm new to the school committee. It's been a couple of months. I'm still doing a lot of observing and taking things in. I do agree with Nikki that, you know, mistakes have probably and definitely been made. And I do have a problem with that. I'm not convinced that the money was necessarily spent responsibly. I know it was a lot and we needed a lot to be COVID ready for the kids to come back to school, but we also got federal money and we had we had extra money starting off. So that does concern me. And I still don't understand how we got to where we are. However, you know, it is all about the kids and I want to see them get all the resources that they need. So I'm just not convinced that, you know, that I don't like that we put that we put out there that maybe we'd have to cut sports, because in all the proposals that I see, sports is not listed in any of them except for the level funding, which is not anything that I would consider voting for. It's just been confusing and disappointing, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's about the kids. So I don't know if I support 4%, but I don't think we're voting on that just yet, right? This is discussion.
That's correct. And we'll go through everybody on the school committee for their feelings, and then we will move on from there. So not to worry, we have more discussion ahead of us. Sarah, are you ready to talk?
Sure, thank you. I think that it's very helpful to see these tables spelling out the cuts at each level. I think it's shocking to see what we might be dealing with. And so I think that it's valid to go before the Joint Finance Committee and have them make the decision. Like Nikki said, it's our job to decide on this end of it, and it's their job to decide on that end of it. So I believe that we need to do our best to lessen the pain of what's ahead. Not that it's not going to be painful, but I think it's important to show that we support and to let the Joint Finance Committee do their job. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Aaron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I get into my thoughts on the motion that's on the table, I want to welcome back Dr. Bryce. I meant to say that at the last meeting and
Thank you.
didn't. I know this has been an extraordinarily difficult time for you and your family, and I want to thank you for making yourself available as needed, for keeping in regular contact with Dr. Santa, and for keeping apprised of everything that's been going on here and coming back and jumping right back into things. I appreciate that, and I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
With regard to the motion currently on the table, I'm actually delighted that it's on the table, because in reviewing all of the materials that we have been given and all of the numbers and this proposal, I can't understand how it's not the only thing on the table. And I say that because the fact of the matter is that from these documents, what they show is that a 4% increase means 1.9 million in cuts, while a 3% increase means 2.3 million in cuts. So it's almost like the documents I've been given support a 4% increase rather than a 3% increase, because it's saying we will have to cut less. So that being said, I will be supporting this motion for 4%. I've thought a lot about it. As I said, I pored over these documents. I'm not supporting this because I don't believe in the superintendent's request, and the request I know came with work from the financial consultants, the superintendent, Dr. Santa, our treasurer, the budget subcommittee. It's not that I don't believe in your work. I just believe that the 3% is a conservative ask based on what I'm looking at here. I think we're going into a challenging year, coming out of a challenging time, where we're going to have teachers facing challenges like getting kids up to speed and filling in learning gaps, and also needing to support students and families with emotional trauma from all of what COVID has thrust upon us. I think it was Mrs. Piper who said the other night that it's our job to ask for what we need. And what all of the documentation that I have been given indicates is that what we need is more than 4%. But the max that we can ask for is 4%. And I believe that's what we should ask for, because that's what it says here that our schools need to ensure that our educators can provide for our students what they need in order to support them in education, and in order for us to maintain our academic, art, athletic programs, etc. These are things our kids need. I think that decision is a decision that I'm making because I feel like it has the best interest of every student in our district at heart. And that's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Aaron. Vic, are you ready to go up?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm dumbfounded. I can't believe what I'm listening to. All right. We just had a meeting, and the motion was taken back because obviously there weren't enough votes to pass a 3% budget. Now I come to a meeting expecting there's going to be a 3%. And by the way, I was all set to vote yes for 3%, which I was not ready to vote at the last meeting. Now I come over here and now I'm looking at a 4%. And I just can't believe that we're going to even address the situation with a 4% budget thing. 3 was legit. I've got a treasurer that tells me that she wasn't even going to vote for the budget at 3%. Hopefully she'll at least come across after all the information we got that we could at least get to a 3%. I'm pretty sure that 4% right now probably won't fly. And maybe we could withdraw that motion also and then go with another motion. The other thing is I have to apologize for my situation when I brought up the hockey thing. Because if you remember, I brought up the hockey, the $20,000 that was for hockey for rental. And I also brought up the swimming. Well, apparently swimming is very, very important in this town because I got more emails about swimming and I got no emails about any other athletics. Now, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how one sport and we weren't even talking about it. It wasn't even on the list. It was just hockey. Hockey was there. Why was it swimming? And all these people write these emails about supporting swimming. I don't understand that, especially where, I don't know if you people are aware of this or not, but our two hockey teams were in the playoffs. One just got eliminated today in a 4-2 score. They were ahead 2-0 and they lost 4-2. Tomorrow night, the girls hockey team, by the way, the hockey team is not the whole team. We're not paying for the whole team. Understand? The whole team is made up of 3 different communities, right? So that means that we pay for the portion of our players that are on that team. And then, by the way, let's also remember the gymnastics team just won their championship. So I didn't hear from any of those people, even football. Football was always the ones that would always approach us. I didn't even get an email from football, but I got, I'd say almost maybe 10 or 15 from swimming. Now, Marge, I know you like swimming and that's your big thing, right? And I like swimming too. But why was it that I only got it from swimming and no one else? But I am telling you right now, I am not going to vote for 4. And I'm going to tell you that in my opinion, you're not going to get a vote for 4. Thank you very much.
Tara. You ready?
I am. Yes, thank you. So I first want to thank Sheila because she has gone above and beyond her role as the treasurer. She has put more hours and time into this budget than any of us. And she has worked with the administration and with the consultants. And I know she holds a full-time job at Raytheon, and we could not have done this without you. The second, I actually 2 questions. One was, what is our fund balance, our current fund balance total? And the second is, what is our current capital reserve fund? So, I mean, that doesn't have to be answered right now, but those are 2 questions I don't know if we can get to that tonight. So I have reviewed, I've discussed, I've compared, I've questioned where we are and how did we get here. Again, like Karen, I'm new to this budget at the moment. I've not had the opportunity to go line by line through this budget to know that everything we need is in it and that things that we don't need are in it, that they're not in it. My reviews have left many questions on efficiency, impact on student achievement, and spending habits. My conclusion, because of lack of transparency, is that I don't know if we need 1%, 10%, or something in between. This is this is bigger, assuming 4% is the accurate number. How did we get here? I don't know how we got here. Prior to taking office, I had heard rumblings that we were not on solid financial ground. After being elected, that became the #1 priority. So starting in December, we hired a consultant to clean up fiscal year 21 and help us to figure out fiscal year 22. In January, we're supposed to get a budget that was not available at the time. So it was recommended that we hire an additional consultant to handle the day-to-day on the feed operations until we could hire a financial officer. In February, the budget subcommittee was presented with a budget that the consultants had recommended, removing, of course, all of the COVID expenditures and mirroring the fiscal 21 budget with the exception of contractual increases. We reviewed that. We've questioned that. Again, we never really got to see line to line, which on a municipal level, I am very familiar with and comfortable with. These questions led to more questions. So as the month of February has gone through, each day there seems to be a new question that arises, and there seems to be a new something that pops up unsurprisingly. such as that we have a $70,000 projected food service debt, which is not a common debt in a school year. There are bills from fiscal 20 that we now have to pay in this fiscal year. So where we were projecting a $900,000 surplus for this year, it doesn't look like that is going to be the case because there are still outstanding bills from fiscal year 20. Unbeknownst to me, which I learned through this process, we entered into a 5-year lease for an additional 2,800 Chromebooks for a cost of $804,000, adding over $200,000 to our operational expenses for 5 years. We already had a 1-to-1 Chromebook or iPad for each student as of March 13th of last year. Was that the best choice? The other thing is the administration. I've combed the administration myself, the numbers. Again, I said it on Monday, I'll say it again. I don't feel comfortable with the number of technology, the number of employees in our technology department, and we outnumber other school districts by half. Most have 3, we have 6. And when I looked at the numbers, we only acquired $673,000 and $673,292 in COVID relief funds. I'm not even sure if we actually, and this is a question again, I'm not sure if we've actually gotten all of the money that we could have gotten. I don't know if we went out and saw all of the reimbursements that we could have based on all of the PPEs we purchased, the substitutes we've had, the HEPA filters, all costs that are associated with COVID that many communities were reimbursed for. And I never got the final cost of what the HEPA filters or the units cost us. I'm still a little questioning on the high quality standards that we have to implement in June and where that stands in our current budget. I really want to see, because I know it's expensive. I've spoke to other districts. I know it's costing them a lot of money, and I still want to know where it is in our budget and how much it's costing us. So cuts were presented by the superintendent. I apologize. I really didn't get to go through the ones that you sent us today. Revisions were made. Thank you to all the parents that reached out. I always appreciate when anyone reaches out, whether you are for or against. I have no problem answering you. And I really do appreciate when people contact and let me know what they're thinking. We need to approve a budget that goes to the JFC. Completely agree with you. But we need it to show how it will improve and support student achievement, how it shows responsible and accountable spending habits, and it demonstrates efficiency. I do not think that a 4% budget does that, a 3% budget, or a 2%. The town of Warren has entrusted me with the job of oversight in doing what is best for the students, the families, and the taxpayers, the whole community. For this reason, I will not be approving any budget presented tonight. For me, more time is needed to analyze and review what we actually have and what we actually need for fiscal year 22. Thank you.
Thanks, Tara. Sheila?
Thanks, Ms. Warwick. So I just kind of wanted to back up and let people know what the journey's been like. Anybody who doesn't know, so in December, we had decided as a school committee that we recognize that not having a finance person for over a year created a large gap within our financial structure in our organization. At that point, we hired Mary King, who is the CFO in North Kingston. She came on as a consultant to help us identify some of the areas. She's not an auditor. She came to help us kind of figure out how do we move forward, how do we get somebody in there, and what's the best path forward financially. At that point, once she did a review in a couple weeks, she realized that we needed somebody in a seat. So we had the interim, an interim CFO she retired from another school district in Rhode Island, and she came on. The two of them worked tirelessly to clean up 2020 actuals, 2021, to start trying to build a baseline for 2022. And now when we say baseline, it just means you're taking all of your actuals, going through your head count. They took out COVID. They took it out as what you're spending today and just put it into 2022. That included all our contractual agreements with our bus companies. Our RIDE has a requirement that you level of effort your facilities and you level of effort your special education. And so that means that you don't go lower than what you've spent for the prior year. So they went through that, they got the numbers, they made sure that that looked okay. They really concentrate on our labor, so our salaries and our benefits, because that's 80% of our budget. So 80% of our budget was baselined from what we're spending today. With that, once they laid that out, that was when Diane Santa and Dr. Bryce then came in and made cuts. The problem becomes is, I talked to Dr. Bryce yesterday with the help of our attorney, Marianne Carroll. We had our consultants on and we went through the cuts. We did not go through the budget. The budget wasn't based on an educational plan and a strategic plan. It didn't incorporate what our proficiencies are with all our individual grades, what is needed, what's not needed. It is based on actuals of what we spent last year. Our enrollment keeps decreasing. How do we know if the programs we have in place are giving us the return on investment? And the return on investment is our kids are above level, at level or above. How do we know that that's being achieved if we're not tracking it at that level? I've learned a lot with Mary King and with Diane Brennan because they come from different districts. They've shown me how they've created budgets. Budgets aren't created in a month. Budgets are created over years. So when you're in the current year, and Mary King explained it perfectly, she's like, I'm in 21, I go through all the cuts as we're going through the year. Like they know their programs. She said, we look at programs not working, we get that one out, we get a new one in. They don't add without deleting. And they're a successful district in the state of Rhode Island. They're in the top 5. So if we're trying to get to the top 5 and 5, we need an educational plan, we need a strategic plan, we need to understand the proficiencies of our students, we need to know what programs are working, what programs aren't working, and we need to put the programs out that aren't, get rid of those and put in new ones. We need to listen to our teachers. It is amazing how many teachers I have talked to in the last 4 days, and some of them I didn't even know, they have ways to make cuts. They have programs that aren't working. We need to start working as a team and start listening to feedback of the people that are in the front line of our children. If we can do that, we will succeed. Without a plan, without working together, we won't ever succeed. Throwing money at something doesn't mean we're going to succeed. We've been doing this all along. This is my 3rd budget process. In my 3rd budget process, I've learned so much because I had 2 people that had successfully do a budget process. And if you go on the North Kingston website, look at her budget presentation that she presents. It's pretty amazing. It tells everybody, taxpayers, towns, everything. It tells them how the students are doing. It tells them how they're doing academically, how they're doing activities-wise, because it's the whole child. But we can't achieve success without a plan, and we can't base our budgets without a plan. So I support teachers 1,000%. I support students 1,000%. But we as a community need to understand that we need to look at a plan, base our budgets on that plan and measure it all the time. I know Diane Santa has data meetings. I know we have that information, but it's not based on our budget. I don't know what the budget number is. I can tell you right there, I don't. Our consultants don't know either. They just know what we've spent. They didn't see an education plan. They didn't see a strategic plan. I think, this year is the time to come together and work together to find out how our education plan aligns, how our strategic plan aligns, how the RIDE high quality standards align, what our proficiency is with math and reading for all of our students. That is success to me. It's not a random number over a year before. That's not a budget. A budget isn't like they gave us 39 million, so let's get 4% more. That's not a budget. That has nothing to do with our educational plan and success of our kids. If we don't have a plan, we could put 30%. Is it good? I don't know. I don't know what the bottom line number is. And yes, I am the treasurer. And yes, I've worked with the consultants, but no, I have not worked with the superintendent. We need a plan. Without an educational plan, all these cuts are for nothing, because we don't know what we can cut without that plan. So I will vote no until we get that educational plan. And I know the legislation says we need a number by March 1st. I don't agree with forcing a number and now putting the issue onto the JFC. The school committee has an obligation to our kids, to our teachers, and to our taxpayers to fix this, not JFC. We failed, all of us, because we didn't provide that. So we can throw a number at JFC and have all the pitchfork people go and yell at them and raise our taxes. That's not a community. We're in this together. These are our kids. These are our towns. We need to start acting like it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to take a minute, first of all, to comment that I appreciate the fact that each one of you laid out your feelings tonight about the budget, about the plans, and about the things that we're doing. It wasn't an easy task for any of you. And I appreciate that you tried. I will not support a 4% raise. I believe that we should advocate for our children, and I believe that our budget goes up every year on contractual services that we have no control over. I also agree with Mrs. Ellsworth that I'd like a plan. But I know that the law says that I have to have a budget number. So tonight, the most that I could possibly support is 3%. I know that that's a moving target to some extent. I understand that as our experts / auditors go through every line item, they're uncovering new things every day, and we'll probably continue to do that for at least the next month. But in the interim, this school committee is obligated to send a budget to joint finance. I will not vote for 4%. I said that before, and I'll say it again. So having had this discussion, I would like to ask you all to vote on whether you would support 4%.
No.
I'm going to ask who's in favor first, Vic.
Okay.
Who's in favor of 4%? I see 4 hands. Who is against 4%? 4% fails. So I need a new motion, please.
I'll make the motion. And if I'm going to again recall the last meeting, that 3% was not going to fly in the last meeting. But 3% might fly in this meeting. I probably would go to 2%, but then I probably would not get the votes for the 2%. So I am making a motion that we go to 3% for our budget.
I need a second on that. Hearing no second, Vic. I need to entertain another motion.
Then all right, then I'm going to have to go to 2%.
Madam Chair, you can second the 3%, his motion.
Thanks, Marianne.
No, I didn't know whether you realized you could make a second.
Marge,
Yes,
I'd like to go ahead and second Victor's request, please.
all right, thank you. We've had our discussion, unless anybody has anything else to say after listening to their colleagues. I see Carly's light is on, so I will go to her before we go to the vote on 3%.
I actually don't have anything to say, but
Oh,
thank you for the opportunity.
All right, if nobody else has anything to say, I'd like to see how many people are in favor of 3%. So that's 4. So 3% fails. So I need another motion. Yes,
Okay, Marge, I'll give the motion.
Hold on, Madam Chair, I actually thought I saw 5.
did you?
I thought I saw Sarah, yourself, Victor, Nikki, and Carly.
I'm sorry.
Do we go to
I'm
vote?
sorry. I apologize. That's, thank you. How many against 3%, please?
Or against, Marge?
Against. All right, that's 4. So it's 5-4 and 3% passes. So we will be sending along to the JFC tomorrow a letter letting them know what our budget request is.
Marge,
And
could I make a comment on this?
you absolutely can.
I just want to let you know that I put in the 3% only because I knew that there would be enough votes for the 3%. And I know we have to get a number by March 1st. And that we needed a number. Now, if we went to 2%, some of the people who voted for 3% would not vote for 2%. I think there was at least a legitimate 5 that would go for 3%. And that's why I brought it out. And we have to, the people that voted no, you have to understand, come March 1st, we have to give them some type of number. And I don't think we're going to get 4, and I don't think I was going to get 2 because the people have dropped it off. So I'm happy that we got the 3 and we got a number to give to the Joint Finance Committee. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that, Victor. And having spoken to some of the members of the school committee, everybody feels very passionately about this budget. They've indicated it to the public tonight in their discussions. And I'm glad that everyone was able to vote comfortably. And I'm also thankful that we now have a number to send to Joint Finance. Is there anything else that anybody wants to say before I move along? Sarah?
Yes, I just wanted to say that to Sheila's point about wanting a plan and all the rest of that went along with that. I mean, that's not off the table now. Like, we're at the beginning of this process, right? So we have the ability to go forward and have the oversight that's necessary, and make the improvements that are necessary. I mean, I think that we all want to move the district forward in a positive way, not just the committee members, but the community members. I mean, there are 170 people in this meeting tonight. People really care. And those of us who are raising our hands or otherwise are trying to do our best to represent all of the people that really care. And I think all of us want to fix the inherent problems in the system and make Bristol Warren a stronger and more financially stronger and academically stronger system for our kids and for the community, because a healthy school system is essential for a healthy community at all levels. So this isn't the end, right? This is the beginning of the process. So.
Thank you, Sarah. You're right. And Sheila's right. And Tara's right. And Nikki's right. Everybody's going in the same direction. Normally, for those of you who are new, we start this process in October, but we didn't do that this year, and we are behind. Having said that, next year, I fully expect Mrs. Ellsworth to be in front of us in October, starting the process so that the plan is in place. Actually, I expect us to be working throughout the year on the plan, on the strategic plan, and where we're going, not only for this upcoming year, but for the year after. So I think that you're correct, but I also appreciate the concerns that some of the other members had. So having said that, we have an executive session, which I don't think is necessary tonight. I think that our attorney can let you know what transpired this week, and I think we'll all be good with the response. Mary Ann, do you have an issue with me doing that way?
I do. We only had put this on as an emergency motion of matter in the event that I couldn't work the matter out that we talked about at the last meeting. I will let you know that that situation has been resolved and settled based on the parameters that you gave me. So there is no need for us to go into executive session tonight.
I thought that's what I just said.
Yeah. Didn't you just tell me to say something?
No, I just wanted to make sure that that I didn't have to have that executive
You
session.
do not need an executive session this evening.
All right, thank you. So thank you, everybody. It was a tough, stressful night, and be kind to yourselves tonight, and tomorrow we'll get started on the work that we need to do. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to all of the community members who came in tonight to listen to our discussion and to participate in the decisions that we needed to make. And we will see you at our next meeting. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Thank you.
Night.